Sophia, good evening and thank you so much for joining us. Do we have an update on the number of deaths from the incident in Mali?
Well, Tabila, Mali security forces here at the end game of a day-long siege, and what they have been able to tell the public and generally ascertain is about 27 casualties as a result of two gunmen entering the Radisson Blu in Bamako this morning from 7 in the morning until about 4 p.m. 170 hostages released, slowly throughout the day. But now a confirmation that all the hostages have been released, and amidst bodies that have been strewn all through the hotel, and containing the situation by making sure that they have cordoned off the hotel and have taken control of that specific area.
Now, Sophia, do we know if the country's president is back in Mali? The last time we heard he was leaving Chad. Has he made a statement regarding the incident?
Well, Mali's President Ibrahim Keita was in Chad. He had gone to attend a regional summit and really had not anticipated, of course, to be called back under these circumstances. He has not openly said or given a statement. However, a lot of his cabinet has spoken. The internal minister, working very closely with the U.S. government in securing the area and also making a vigilant effort to rescue the hostages. As you know, the Radisson Blu is a hotel that's used by many foreigners in Bamako. A lot of people coming in and out use the Radisson Blu as a stop. So you had foreigners from everywhere, from China, India, Turkey, and, indeed the internal minister had to come out and express that there was an ongoing effort with the French government and the U.S. government to rescue the hostages, of which was successfully done this evening.
Now, Sophia, some reports have suggested that this was the work of a known military group with links to Al-Qaeda. What is known about Al-Murabitun?
Well, Al-Murabitun is, as you would say, a franchise of Al-Qaeda in the Islamic Maghreb. These are franchises, sort of smaller sects of the bigger, Al-Qaeda, sort of Al-Shabaab, community. They've been causing really a lot of violence in the northern part of Mali for a very long time. Between 2013 and 2015, significant violent attacks in Mali. A lot of the members of this Murabitun sect are believed to have received arms from Libya in the far north and brought those in during the fall of Muammar Gaddafi. So even though a lot is not known about Murabitun just as a franchise, a lot is really known about the greater umbrella organization, which is the Al-Qaeda Islamist sect in the Maghreb.
Now, Sophia, staying with this terror group, have reports that Al-Murabitun claimed responsibility been confirmed?
Well, at this point, statements have come out through Al-Murabitun that they have actually taken responsibility. It's always difficult to ascertain exactly who is behind these attacks. Propaganda is a big part of terrorist activity. And, it's interesting to note that even though Al-Murabitun has come out to say that they are responsible for these attacks, also on Twitter and various outlets, there have been talks of ISIS also taking responsibility for the attacks that happened in Mali today, but primarily Al-Murabitun is taking the center stage in these specific attacks in Mali.
Now, let's just move focus from Mali to Nigeria, where earlier this week, Nigeria was rocked by two separate bomb attacks. One in Kano, that 14 people were killed, and another in Yola, with 32 people killed there. Has anyone claimed responsibility so far, and have there been any arrests with these attacks?
Well, the attacks in Yola and in Kano have not been claimed by any organization. However, authorities, especially when we spoke to the military, seem to think that this is the typical attack from the Boko Haram community. Yola and Kano are in the key area of northeastern Nigeria, where Boko Haram has made significant impact, has placed their footprint, and it's not too distant a fear or a suspicion that in fact Boko Haram could have been behind the attacks in Kano and the attacks in Yola that have killed almost 50 people.
Now, some of the terror groups in Africa have reportedly pledged allegiance or have ties to some of the known terror groups in the Middle East. Are we seeing a rise in these types of affiliations in the recent years? And what will this mean for the fight against terrorism?
Well, the center or the core of terrorist attacks and terror acts is really to draw attention to who these terrorists are. And at the moment, Boko Haram, the essence of Boko Haram and Murabitin is really to spread an Islamic state and to come under Shia law, which is primarily the Islamic law. Of course, not justifying at all what the attacks have proven in terms of, casualties, but that is the intent. It's interesting also to note that ISIS has, backed other franchises in order for them to grow. Just here in Nigeria, Boko Haram has gained strength, even on the international scene, really looked at as the deadliest terror organization in the world because of this purported affiliation to the Islamic State. So, of course, terrorism and terrorist groups like Boko Haram, like Murabitin and others really thrive on these links, and whether they are covert or extremely overt, as we have seen in ties to one another, the ideal essence is to spread. It's really a transnational, trans-regional type of effort put forward by these terror organizations.
Now, Sophia, in Nigeria, for example, some of these attacks are being carried out by women. Do we know if they are doing this out of free will or if they're being coerced into doing it?
Well, the intention of the terror attacks is, under investigation from one to another. But really, at the end of the day, when you look at the structure of these women, they are being guided or being told what to do by ideally the men in their faith and the men who lead these organizations. Rarely do you ever see a woman in a position of leadership when it comes to Boko Haram or most terror organizations, just by the virtue of the faith. So the women and the young children, have been told what to do by this, patriarchal structure that exists within Islam. So it is very interesting to also note in the abduction of the 200 schoolgirls from Chibok in Borno, that's in the northern part of Nigeria, about a year and a half ago, the fear really does exist that these women will be brainwashed and turned into, tools for the men who are in these strong Islamic positions to be able to go out and, execute acts like suicide attacks. So, of course, complications exist in the layer of the Islamic faith.
Thanks for the update, Sophia. That was our reporter live from Abuja in Nigeria, giving us the latest on those attacks that we saw earlier on in Bamako, Mali.